Hello, this is Mike at Gamefromscratch, and welcome to week 10 of This Week in Game Dev, a recap of what's happened most recently in the world of game development. This week for the week including January 23rd of 2016. Now let's jump right into it. Now all of these links are going to be available in the comments down below. If you want more details or anything else, just check the comment links down below. We can jump to the original articles I'm going through here. This week started off again on something to do with VR. It's the new hotness everybody's piling on, and so is Crytek, the makers of the Cry engine. Basically, they announced VR First initiative. What it means is that for a number of universities, at least in Germany and Europe in general, I believe, they're going to be partnering with them to give source licenses and free hardware available. So if you're in a comp sci program in Europe, this could be great news for you. For most of us, it means absolutely nothing. Now next up, we had a pair of patches this week. Again, preview releases. It's nice to see these nice fast build cycles from both Unreal and Unity. Features are what you would expect from a weekly update. There's a nice new lot of fixes in the case of Unreal Engine, and in the case of Unity, a bit more of the same. Samsung TV support was added. A couple of other major things. Now, one thing I would be aware of, at least I saw today on the Reddit our GameDev thread, a lot of people seem to be having problems with this patch. So if you're a bit wary, this is probably not one to be adding. Now, of course, both the Unreal and the Unity preview patches are exactly that. They're previews. So they're meant for really people that are willing to be on the cutting edge of testing. So don't expect stability in either case. But it's nice to see this much faster update cycle from both of them. Competition is a great thing. Now, on the opposite note, OpenTK is kind of dead, which is unfortunate. Now, OpenTK is an OpenGL wrapper for .NET. It's actually the OpenGL library that Monogame relies on, including as well as the Duality game engine and a couple of others. So basically, if it's not on a Windows platform and it's using OpenGL, it's probably using OpenTK under the behind the curtain. And the person who ran the OpenTK project stepped aside, and the guy that's been maintaining it for the last several months is quitting as well. And the problem is he doesn't have all of the original passwords for things like the NuGet project, full GitHub, etc. Now, it's not the end of the world. First off, it's an OpenGL binding, and especially with the Vulkan API coming out any day now, we're probably not going to see a lot of change in the world of OpenGL, and the OpenTK libraries are pretty stable. But unfortunately, nobody is running the ship there. So someone is going to have to, pick up this flag, fork OpenTK, and keep it going. Hopefully somebody does that. It's a nice project, and it's very important to other projects out there. So definitely sad to see a maintainer go, but you got to understand it. You can't commit your life to these things forever, and we applaud him for the work he's done till this date. Now, next up, we've got Cocos 2D X has released version 3.10. You can see the full release notes here. It's a lot of smaller refinements and changes. Little things like, Git version is available, things like that. Like it's a refinement version. It's not a major change. Nothing that's going to overwhelm you there, but a ton of little fixes and updates and small new feature choices. So there's your features. Like there's only about 8 new features in there, so it's not a really huge update, but still a nice one to see. Now, if you're not aware of it, Cocos 2DX is a C++ based, at least originally, it was a C++ based port of the Cocos 2D library, which is an Objective-C library, which ironically is a port of the Cocos library, which was a Python-based game engine from 30 years, actually not that long, but probably a dozen years ago. So Cocos has a lot of heritage. And Cocos 2DX started as a C++ port, but now they also have a JavaScript and I believe a .NET port going as well. So they're kind of the keepers of the Cocos name, because Cocos 2D itself, I think, is somewhat dead. So nice to see new continuous releases out of Cocos 2DX. It's a nice C++ library. I've done a full tutorial on Gamefromscratch if you want to get started with it. It's nice to work with, especially if you want to work in C++. Now, next up, we've got a pair of editor releases to finish things off. First off, Corona have updated the Atom editor with a plugin that gives you full code completion and syntax highlighting for Corona syntax. I can't speak today. Sorry about that. So Corona is a cross-platform mobile Lua-based development environment. Pretty popular. They were just recently purchased. It actually seems to be accelerating their release schedule as opposed to making any kind of a negative impact, so that's cool to see. And Atom it's a nice little editor. I found it brutally slow, if I'm honest. It took a very long time to start up, so I don't know what's going on there. But I was using Atom for a while, but I switched over to Visual Studio Code because it's just too slow for my liking. So hopefully they get that worked out. And now finally, another, and this one on the vein of Visual Studio Code I was just talking about, Code Studio 16.1 was released. Now that versioning is a little bit of an exaggeration. This is not a far along project, so don't think that this is a 20 or 30-year-old project, because it's very new. And it's a fork of the Visual Studio Code, which in turn is a fork of Electron. I believe I might be making that up, but it is a nice lightweight code editor from Microsoft that they have now forked for Code Studio. And Code Studio is, to me, compatible with the KHA game library, which is a hacks-based game library available on well, everything actually. So I don't know if it's Ka. I imagine it's Ka. I might be saying that wrong. But anyways, this is a dedicated bit of an extension with a little bit of modification to the core Visual Studio Code IDE. Now in the long view though, from the editors, they say that this will probably, or possibly, I'll go with probably, that sounds more encouraging, probably be a full-blown hacks development environment down the road, which is a lovely thing to hear, because first off, Hacks has one great IDE and a bunch of not so great other alternatives. And Flash Develop is the great choice. And even it has issues. It's not perfect, but it works very well for what it does. But it is Windows only, unfortunately. So if you want Hacks full debugging support, you're kind of SOL. You can get close with IntelliJ. Sublime Text, etc., you can't really get that full debugger experience, I don't believe. So it's nice to see another option come up, and it's nice to see it built around Visual Studio Code, which if you have not checked out yet, is a great lightweight editor. So it's a lot like Sublime Text used to be, actually. So give it a check, and if you're working in the hacks world, especially if you're working with Ka, give Code Studio a check. It's definitely an interesting looking project. I'm not sure if I would have preferred they stayed as an extension as opposed to a fork. I rarely like forks, but they do insist that down the road they are going to need to be a fork. So we'll see where that goes. But anyways, that is the game dev news for this week, the week ending of January 20, actually I guess it's the 24th now. Hope you enjoyed that. See you later. Bye.